Battlefield 2042 was supposed to be DICE's saving grace to the FPS franchise. It was supposed to be their redemption after the not-so-well-received Battlefield 5. Ironically, Battlefield 5 seems to be going up and up in players now, as Battlefield 2042 goes down and down. After its disaster of a beta, and then even more of a disaster at launch, there's been so much talk about what's been going on and what the future holds for this disaster of a AAA release. Battlefield 2042, as I am recording this, has 5,000 concurrent players. I'm not lying, it has 5,000 concurrent players. For a game that came out a couple of months ago, the size of Battlefield, that is what you could call a disaster. But there's been more talks in the works, as an article came out today by The Game Bible, written by Imogen Donovan, titled Battlefield 2042 to go free to play in response to disappointing performance, insider says. And this is where I think it starts to get interesting, because I can totally believe why they would do this. First of all, they took out single player from the franchise, something that whilst it was never really that polished and well done, people loved it. It was insane, especially something like Battlefield 4 single player campaign, taking you through some of the most insanity driven, explosion eccentric missions that made absolutely no sense but were a hell of a lot of fun to do. Even something like Battlefield 1, taking you through each individual story and these semi-historical moments in this alternate universe Great War. But that was not a part of 2042, and because of that they needed to make up that $60 price tag in terms of multiplayer content, and it's safe to say they just never did that. Of course, they did add a few more game modes as time went on after its release, but the main core of Battlefield, its rushes, its conquest, never had the same charm that it once did earlier on in its lifetime. So they're in this tricky position. They have a game that people have paid $60, $70, even up to $120 on, but people just don't think it's worth the money. With such terrible reviews and such a dead player base just a few months after its release, what are they going to do next with it? Well, Tom Henderson is an industry insider. A lot of his claims in the past have supposedly been on target. He was the one that leaked all the things about natural disasters, tornadoes and snowstorms that affect the match in Battlefield 2042, and they turned out to be correct. So he's been right in the past. Of course, this is not a definite confirmation, but he says as follows: EA is reportedly very disappointed with how Battlefield 2042 has performed and is looking at all the options when it comes to the title. This is including looking at free-to-play in some capacity. I mean, I don't think this is way out of the realms of possibility. In fact, I think this could be very, very likely, especially with 2021. It was supposed to be the comeback year and redemption of the AAA shooters. Call of Duty Vanguard was supposed to do something new. Battlefield 2042 was supposed to take the franchise into a new age of big multiplayer shooters, and Halo Infinite was supposed to bring back what Halo 5 couldn't quite do. And only one of them succeeded, and that was Halo Infinite. And you know why I think a big portion of that was? Because the multiplayer was free to play, and it still is. The only part you have to pay for is the campaign itself, meaning the multiplayer can bring people in for absolutely free, and if they enjoy it, they can go on to spend money on the campaign and whatever else there is in the future of multiplayer. So could Battlefield 2042 be doing the same thing? Well, there's a slight problem with this, because they shot themselves in the foot by having a multiplayer only game. Whilst they could be saying they want it to be free to play in some capacity, they can't make the multiplayer free to play because that's the whole game. But if they did, then surely that would just ramp up the need for microtransactions that they're going to shove into the title itself, because it's still a company and they're going to have to try and make money somehow. Because they didn't have this single player, they've completely limited what they can do in terms of making this game free to play. And I think free to play is the only thing that can possibly save this title at this point. It's an interesting future. There's been a lot of speculation about what could happen next with the title, and I think whilst a lot of people have left it in the dust, I think there are still a few people there, including me, that hopes it gets its redemption. A bit like Battlefield 4 when it initially came out. A buggy mess, but there was still something left to save, and it's now a fantastic title in the franchise. Could Battlefield 2042 go the same direction, or is it too long gone? Is there not enough left for DICE to do in order to save Battlefield 2042?